Second is our IBM Watson virtual agent. The new innovative feature, you can automatically and quickly get updated information by asking questions in either Spanish or it includes critical information on COVID-19 from trusted public sources like the CDC, as well as local and state partners. Harris County is doing its best to keep you informed, and please use that to get any of your FAQ on our website. There's also some things that you can do today. First, learn more about testing and testing sites. Today, in a partnership with Walgreens, now have new testing sites that are drive-through available every day, 7 days a week during daytime hours. However, that's subject to weather. Up on potentially severe weather this coming weekend, with some thunderstorms rolling in today, with some more severe weather anticipated either Saturday night or through the day on Sunday. So be aware of that if you're trying to go to a community testing site. So how do you get tested? Both our community testing sites as well as Walgreens require a screening process. You can find the screening process for both of those at the Ready Harris website. On the Walgreens locations, there are two, one in the city of Houston and one in Pasadena. Conduct the self-swabbing exam test supervised by Walgreens pharmacists. Again, those do require appointments, so we ask that you go through our screening process on Ready Harris to fill that out. Second, you can make a difference today for future disasters. For the first time ever, the census can be completed online. We urge you to do that. It only took me about 10 minutes, and it's quick and easy. The census includes people living in the United States, regardless of their citizenship status. And by law, the census has to count everybody, but at the right location. So that's critically important. There are four primary things the census operates from. One is they are allowed to collect this information. It can only be used for statistical purposes, and it cannot be shared with other federal agencies. The fourth is there are safeguards in place to make sure that none of those are violated, and there are penalties for violation of how that information is used. The 2020 census will help determine how hundreds of billions of federal dollars will flow into local communities for the next 10 years. The funding shapes many different aspects of our community, no matter how big, how small, or where they are. They are critical to hospitals, health clinics, fire departments, education programs like Head Start and college tuition assistance programs, but they are also critical to emergency management and public safety funding. So how those federal dollars flow in response to a disaster is absolutely important. And finally, this is exactly a month ago that the city and county orders restricting restaurant service to only curbside, delivery, or takeout were instituted. Local restaurants are not only essential businesses, but they are also an important part of our Houston culture. Houston is world-renowned for its restaurants. We are famous for that. So we know it's a hard time for everybody, but if today or this weekend you could support our local restaurants, that's critically important. And remember to give your favorite locations a shout out on social media. Thank you for joining us for our weekly update, and we're glad to answer any questions.
Francisco, our first question is, we've got a month since the order. What does the next month look like for Harris County?
We are tracking data on a very regular and consistent basis throughout the day. The current stay home, work safe order extends through April 30th. Local, state, and regional governments will be taking a close look at what those numbers look like, and will make a reassessment as April 30th gets closer. Both local officials, the governor, and the president over the past week have started rolling out what those guidelines would look like moving forward. Possible restriction to continue, or any reduction in those restrictions. But public safety remains the first priority. So all that will be driven, but by data, and again, that is driven by the individual complying with the stay home, work safe order to keep any positive results down in our community.
Next, from Melissa Luck with CoStar News. Do you still expect infections to peak in Harris County and Houston in early
We look at multiple forecasts and are guided by our public health authorities. And the forecast can be driven by multiple things. They make multiple assumptions. Right now, there are forecasts that call for the peak to happen potentially in May. One of the things that will have to be driven by, though, are actual numbers. And so as we get those on a very daily basis, we start making predictions sort of moving forward. We'll simply have to see how those numbers roll out.
Next question comes from Adam Bennett at KHOU. Right now, what is the biggest challenge your office is facing in responding to the pandemic?
A few things. One, most other state, local, and federal organizations, we are trying to make sure that the public, the personal protective equipment, the PPE, is in store not only for our first responders and healthcare professionals, but also those essential employees that are throughout government and some of our core partners trying to keep you safe. So continuing to work that, supporting all local jurisdictions. And again, I'll repeat this again, the most essential thing that we can do is what we do as individuals to stop the spread of the novel coronavirus. So messaging is important. Venues like this that we can work with our local media partners and on social media to let people know. We know there is a fatigue there. And so that's critical to people to understand that what they're doing right now matters. So that's probably the most essential thing that we can be doing. And I will tell you that we are looking forward towards, in the planning process, towards the recovery that lies ahead. We know the health impacts are only part of this equation. The economic and social impacts that are happening as a result of this are important to us. We get them, and that will be the next heavy lift moving forward.
Next question. You mentioned a tool with IBM. Can you talk a little bit more about what that is and how that came about?
Sure. In partnership with IBM, one of our business partners, they are working with us in multiple jurisdictions across the state on our website, having a virtual agent. Basically, it means there's a bot, a little box on our website where you can ask a question. You can ask it in English and in Spanish, and then
Francisco, we had a few people jump on late. Would you mind just kind of recapping very quickly your comments?
Sure, glad to. We are in our 47th day of consecutive activation days here in our Emergency Operations Center and our response to COVID-19. Things change daily, and so we're really stressing today the importance to stay informed. And there are multiple ways that you can do that. The easiest way right now is to dial CV19 to 888-777, and we will send you updates directly to your phone by text. You can also follow us on social media at Ready Harris, and we post multiple updates there throughout the day, not only from our office, but from our partners across local, state, and federal governments, our business partners, as well as our nonprofit. That is the message today. We know we are in our 47th day of activation. We know we've been at the stay home, work safe order for a while. It's really critical as things change on a daily basis to stay informed. So we strongly encourage you to do that. There are some things that you can do today from home to both contribute to our response and also find some things to do. First, you can learn more about testing sites. You go to readyharris.org. You can learn about our new partnership with Walgreens at 2 new testing sites. And you can also go online and fill out the census. That's something you can do today to help us get the resources we might need for a future disaster.
Our next question comes from Janet Martinez at Fox 26. Given what we're hearing reports of severe weather, are you equipped to handle that?
Yeah, so the benefit is we are activated at level 1, which is our maximum readiness. We are in communication with all kinds of partners throughout the day. So we are ready to respond for any kind of severe weather. We're going to be tracking that throughout the next few days and keeping you informed on Ready Harris. That said, we expect some thunderstorms to come in this afternoon, the weather to continue tomorrow into Saturday, with the potential for more severe weather, or the most severe part of that weather to come into Saturday night and possibly Sunday throughout the day. So while we're ready, it's also essential for folks to stay home if at all possible to avoid that severe weather.
as a follow-up to that, Janet asks, given that so many residents have been tied up with COVID, are there any contingency plans?
Yes, so one, we don't expect the severe weather at all to create any issues for infrastructure. We don't expect any residential or flooding, or we don't expect any flooding to happen outside the bayou. So anything like a shelter is not something that we need to look at right now. However, the most hazardous threat will be potentially some heavy winds. But you could see downbursts of a few inches of rain in a short period of time. And that means that there's likely some areas that will have some short-lived street flooding. And so we ask people to stay off the roads when we see that weather starting to come in.
Our next one comes from Juan Pablo Graham. Is the county planning to mandate face coverings as other counties such as Dallas County, Travis County, and City of San Antonio have?
Right now, face coverings are not a requirement, or there's no order in place. However, we do have recommendations from our federal partners that face coverings are suggested. You can go to readyharris.org and get some more information about face coverings, and you can also have some of that information on the CDC website. Sort of being as essential employees here in our Emergency Operations Center, we're essential employees that have to come into contact with other people sometimes on a regular basis as part of our duty. So we're wearing face masks here. And again, a lot of good guidance out there in terms of what kind of mask that you can wear to cover your face if you'll be out and about.
Our next question comes from Marissa Luck at CoStar Media. Testing is considered a critical part of reopening the economy. With the opening of the Walgreens testing site, how many testing sites do we have in Harris County, and what's our daily capacity for tests? Are there plans to open additional testing sites in the coming weeks as we try to put together a plan to reopen the economy?
Excellent question. Testing is critically important to understanding the spread of COVID-19 in our community. So we have multiple sites that are community sites that are operated by the City of Houston and by Harris County. Walgreens and these two new locations represent a growing testing capacity. So working with our private sector partners like that, we can conduct more tests in our community. On the community-based side, between the city and county, our expectation is to be able to do potentially up to 500 tests at each of those sites. I believe the number for Walgreens is 200 per site. And there's a surge of testing capacity also at private healthcare facilities. So with your doctor and at hospitals. And so as that continues to grow, testing capacity is going to be a critical indicator in terms of how we can start moving to future phases. And thank you all very much for joining us. Tune in next week at 10:30. And make sure to follow Ready Harris on social media and our website for the latest information.